Hello, everybody, and welcome to the bonus podcast for episode 467 of Conversation Street. I am Michael.
I'm Gemma.
She certainly is, and we are going to be talking about the character of Sharon Bentley, née Gaskell, in today's special episode. So excited to have Sharon returning on the cobbles this week. We're recording this on Thursday, the 22nd of April, 2021, and just last night we saw Tracy Bennett make a triumphant return in the role for the third time, really. Fourth if you count a little mini return after Len died. More on that later. And I couldn't be more chuffed to see this character back. So excited about it. So I'm looking forward to filling you guys in, along with the help of my beautiful assistant here, of who Sharon is, because I guess there might be some people who watched last night thinking, who on earth's that woman parading in through the cabin? And everybody and Rita seems to have a bit of beef with her, and yes, so worry not, we will tell you. And I assume that if you really wanted to know, you could have gone to the plethora of other places online that were saying who Sharon is. But by gum, we're going to be more detailed than them, because that's our thing, that's our shtick. You are going to know Sharon to the nth degree, every single thing that she did, every toilet trip nearly that she did back in the 80s.
You're overselling it.
No, I'm just really excited to have Sharon back. Can you tell everybody? Yeah.
I love her hair.
She's got an awesome bob.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I really like those beautiful, either steely silver or beautiful downy white bobs that old ladies can cultivate.
Don't call her an old lady.
Old ladies can do it.
It's so funny. It's a character that we've seen. We obviously didn't watch it
How
back in
old
her
is she?
first appearance. She was born in 1965, so she's coming up on 60. To be fair, in a few years' time, and I think Tracy herself is a few years older than Sharon is.
Yeah, well, old ladies, I'm thinking of wearing steely bobs, that she has one as well.
Yes, indeed. I just made me realise
can't say
Sharon
anything,
Tracy. It
so.
feels like this is we're talking about birds of a feather here. No, I was going to say, you like her hair. Tell you what, I like her hair. I like her eyes. I think she's got awesome, big, expressionate
She's got
eyes.
a very nice face.
She does.
I was also thinking of Helen Daniels from Neighbours,
I don't know who that
who I
is.
think had a cool haircut.
Ah,
I think
interesting.
when you get to past a certain age, you can do more cool stuff with your hair.
You're looking forward to that?
I can't wait.
Gemma's just sitting here on the sofa at the moment, hair
it's
up,
almost
clip round
exactly
it.
a year ago since we did my pandemic haircut where we cut off my ponytail.
Oh yeah, I remember that
Yeah.
now. That was cool.
Right, we're not talking about me. We're talking
No,
about
we're not. We're talking about Sharon. Nice hair, nice eyes, great personality. She was a character who,
Great personality.
She is. It's not all about looks. We're not just, superficial here
When you
on
say
this
great,
podcast.
though, do you mean interesting rather than somebody you'd want to be friends with?
I would be friends with her. Whether she'd want to be friends with me,
fleece you.
I don't know. I think she possibly would. I mean, when I'm thinking back to that time in 1983 when she came back to the show and she dated Curly for about an hour and then went off with Terry Duckworth, I do think I'd be the Curly in that situation.
Is that when they
I have
came
to
into
say.
the pub and they were
It is. You're remembering that
fishing
scene very
for
well.
a date?
Yes, because we just recently obviously watched Sharon's first appearances on our DVD rewatch journey of Coronation Street, but I first encountered Sharon late 90s. Yeah, it was 1999, because back then on Granada Plus, sadly the channel that no longer exists, but we have ITV3 now, they were showing Sharon's first appearance on Coronation Street pretty much at exactly the same time as the character returned. So I got to see, within the space of a few months, debut Karen, followed by Karen? Who's Karen? Sharon?
Who's Karen?
What a Karen. And then returnee Sharon. Sharon!
Michael, you're like, we're going to tell you everything there is to know about
Nearly
this
20
character,
years
Karen.
later. And it's been really fascinating to see her come in for a little bit, disappear off for, 20-odd years, back in, disappear off for 20 years. And you know what? She hasn't changed. She's a bit of a she seems to be a little bit of a shady character. As I say, we've only seen her briefly in her most recent appearance, but I don't know, Jenny doesn't seem to think she'd be trusted, and I think that she's a fairly good judge of character. But yeah, she's got a massive personality, and it's something that when I watched back in the Granada Plus days really stood out to me, and I thought this is a good character here. This is somebody who's feels like a lot of fun, and yeah, she's just a live wire and a spark, and she's one of these actresses, Tracy Bennett, that you just want to watch. I think that she's she calls to you, she invites watching. I think I should be able to describe it in a better way after doing a podcast for 9 years. But I really, really do like Sharon. So I was pleased to hear
I
her
can
come
tell.
back. And it's also good because we're seeing a real renaissance of some of the 80s ladies on Coronation Street recently, aren't we? I mean, we had Jenny Bradley come back 6-7 years ago. I've lost track now. Maybe it wasn't even that long. We had Gina Seddon return as well. Different actress, of course. We had the lovely Connie Hyde who played her, and only recently Debbie Webster. So it's really funny to seeing these characters that we've not seen for 25, 30 years odd, returning back and seeing what they're like.
Denise.
Yeah, Denise as well, actually. Yeah. In the 90s she appeared. Just wondering who else might we get next. I don't know. Shirley, Curly's girlfriend that had that issue with race. Health Roberts,
Emma.
maybe. Emma who?
Emma, Curly's wife.
Oh yeah. Because I'm thinking earlier than that. I'm thinking 80s. I'm thinking Kimberly Taylor. If Kimberly Taylor comes, bring Mummy and Daddy Taylor, please.
Right, okay, I'll write. I am writing this down.
I'm requesting. It's 80s comeback. It's all the rage, everybody. Stranger Things.
That's it.
Yeah.
Stranger Things, Sharon Bentley.
and other
It's a
kinds.
renaissance.
Anyway, this is all a massive preamble to say this is the character profile of Sharon Bentley. So if you don't know who she is, pin your ears back because we are about to tell you.
You've talked for 6 minutes about how much you love her, so let's find out why, shall we?
I think she's fab. We're going to run down about statistics first. She was born on the 22nd of March, 1965. And as I say this, I'm realising that makes her exactly 22 years younger than my sister to the day. She has one brother, Wayne Gaskell. No, she hasn't. She's got 3 brothers, sorry. She's got Wayne, who made one appearance back in 1982. And apparently 2 other brothers somewhere who the Corrie gods did not even deign to give names in any of Sharon's appearances. She has been married but once to Ian Bentley in 1999. And Sharon first made an appearance on the 1st of March 1982. So she had a little stint from 1982 to beginning of 1984, with even that had a gap in between. But yeah, 1999 was a comeback. And now she is here in 2021, third time lucky. Before her current appearance in Coronation Street, she'd been in 173 episodes in the show so far. Been a few more this week. As I said earlier, it is Thursday now. I can only assume that she's going to be in this Friday's episode, but by the time you listen to this podcast, you will know. I want to keep the discussion today mostly on retro Sharon stuff. I don't want this to necessarily be an opportunity to speculate about what may be to come for her, because I'm assuming that when we record tomorrow's podcast, we might talk more about that. This is just going to be classic Sharon.
And as she said, she's played by Tracy Bennett, and
she is.
Tell you what,
she's
worked very hard to have made such an impression on you in just 173 episodes.
I know. Sometimes it doesn't take much. It just takes, pair of big old eyes, big personality, and a rough old northern accent.
Yeah, you know that big personality is code for giant boobs, don't you?
No.
Yeah, it is.
I didn't know that.
I don't think there's... You mean it in a very innocent way, don't you?
No, I've not looked. I don't know.
Tracy Bennett, the actress, grew up... She wanted to be
distracted by her hair and her eyes.
A stunt woman. And then she got a job on Corrie so that she could fund her training to be a stunt woman.
Yeah, how life could have been different for her. Just getting it's like getting a weekend job. Most people, get paperboy or work. I don't know what do people do. Odd jobs. Dog walking, car washing. Tracy Bennett said, "I'm going to go on Corrie to earn a little bit of pin money so that I can do my life's long ambition to be a stunt woman."
Yeah, Bill Podmore, the producer, found out that she was flying planes in Blackpool on her days off, and he went absolutely bananas because he didn't want her to crash, I guess. So he made her stick to acting.
I mean, Coronation Street's cast have got certain rules and stipulations about what they can and can't get up to in their time off, I think. And flying planes over Blackpool on a regular basis probably falls into that.
It's like, I didn't know I had to ban you from this, but you're not allowed to.
Yeah, I wonder what else that he had to just make a massive list of, like diving with sharks, all these things that, you hadn't even thought of, but...
Drugs, drinking...
No
speeding,
booze. Yeah, I'm
driving
not sure.
While drunk, while speeding.
Yeah, probably as the Coronation Street cast through the years did all of those things and added to the list.
Right, that's it. Okay, I'm just saying all drugs now because I was specific and you keep finding new ones.
Gemma, because you've seen 1982 Sharon, or a bit of it. I mean, you've seen, what, 3 or 4 episodes of her maybe in her teen appearance. I'll let you do the 1982 and I'll jump in and say things probably because I can't seem to keep quiet this evening.
I know, you're really excited. 1982. This is when she was fostered by Rita and Len Fairclough, as a temporary measure before moving on to her long-term foster parents.
Yeah, so it was only meant to be for a little bit that she'd be staying with her. She was going to go and stay with the Bolton family, but they weren't ready for her yet.
So where on the scale of I was going to say abductees, foster children. Is she the first, second? I don't know.
No, I think there were a couple of little mini ones before, but that didn't make much of an impression. But Sharon, she came before Jenny, basically. When you think of the Faircloughs and their foster kids, it's Jenny and Sharon, which we already have seen. Oh, we're not talking about her current appearance. Yeah, she is number 1.
So she had a social worker who's called Don Worthington, and he was played by Brian Capron.
Oh, yes!
In an appearance before he became evil Richard Hillman.
That was funny.
And later, Coronation Street Halloween tour master.
I know, he's had all the jobs, hasn't he? Yeah, we saw some of the young Brian Capron, didn't he? It was so funny. I think he was Sally Ann Matthews' Jenny's social worker as well when she came to the show. I think they just really
admired his ability to hold a briefcase and tell people what to do.
Look at those black gloves. They look so dashing.
Come back later. We've got something else
in
for you
30 years.
That year, she got on Len's bad side when he caught her boyfriend Steve trying to lead her upstairs during her 17th birthday party.
We've seen this episode.
I remember her asking if she could have this party and then allowing her. And
this was within days of her coming onto the street. And I think Len and Rita had to kind of say yes because they wanted to ingratiate themselves to her.
If you're listening to this now, you know Rita, but you might not know Len. Len was kind of a gruff chap. He was a builder. And he was a man's man, really, wasn't he?
He was no nonsense.
One of these old-fashioned guys. He's very strict. So he was not pleased to see this occurring. Wayne, who is the brother, also crashes the party and causes trouble by arguing with Steve, the boyfriend. And Sharon has to get Len, the foster father, to chuck him out.
Thank you.
And this was Wayne's only appearance because Len was very thorough in chucking him out. He chucked him not just out of the house, but out of the show.
Yeah. Will we see Wayne again?
Never. She meets the Boltons. This is her prospective foster family.
Yeah, does she realise that they're actually the Boltons from Game of Thrones?
She's like, I don't want any part
probably
of
better
this.
Not. I'll stick with a news agent, please.
I know what happens to women in this show. She decides they're too posh, and so she runs away to stay with the Faircloughs until she's 18. And Don thinks this is unfair, so that's the social worker, thinks it's unfair on them, and they're like, we don't mind, really. So Sharon gets to stay. How lovely. She helps out rebuilding number 7. So that is the house that collapsed.
Yes.
On the street I can't remember when. It just stayed as a gap for ages.
Stayed collapsed for quite a while.
It was because they had too many houses.
Too many houses and not enough cast, which is kind of the opposite
problem now.
Isn't it? It really
isn't it helpful to know that Sharon's here and she can build houses for everybody?
Yeah.
She's like one of these missionaries who goes to third world countries to help build for the natives. She's come to Weatherfield to help them understand you don't have to live 3 to a back bedroom.
Yeah, and that's I suppose that's another link between her and old Debbie Webster, isn't it? Also could be involved in property.
Yeah, maybe they'll start
Debbie
a property
tears it down.
tycoon.
They should have done it. They should have Debbie tearing down the street and then Sharon saying, "Oh, let's put it back again.
Put it back up.
Come on, Debbie."
Only this time it's a high-rise flat so everyone can fit.
Yeah.
So
I was just going to say, sorry. With all these characters from the 80s that I said that are returning, I don't think many of them actually crossed over and met each other. I know definitely, obviously Jenny and Sharon hadn't met each other, but I don't think that Debbie came a few years after Sharon had left, and I can't remember whether Debbie was there when Jenny was still back. So we need a reunion of people who have never met.
What a fantastic event!
Oh, I was in the show in the 80s as well.
Well, apparently...
Do you remember Hilda? Oh no, she's before my time.
Oh.
I don't know why I've gone all south in London.
Okay, so Sharon was a dab hand at carpentry, and she and Rita gang up on Len.
Yes.
To try to persuade him to let them move in.
Yeah, they lived next door. I think they did. I think they lived in number 9, and he was going to sell the house to whoever. And in the end, they were like, no, this is a brand new house. Look how awesome it is. Can we move into it, please? It was 2 against 1.
I mean, I guess this must be after they moved sets, because the gap that number 7 occupied shrunk over the years.
It was so funny, wasn't it? It was so
like be
funny.
like the width. At one point, it was like the width of a bench.
Yeah,
and that was it, because they didn't really care about sizes.
Yeah, I mean, when they moved to Media City recently, they talked about the fact that, you know, in real life at Key Street the set was narrower, but back in these days when the house had collapsed, it was, like you said, you could almost lie down and stretch your arms out and touch.
You would never believe that
number 5 and number 9.
And that was where Harry Hewitt and all that lot lived.
Yes, it was.
Yeah,
good memory.
Thanks. Yeah. In September, she starts fancying Brian. I don't know who Brian is.
Brian Tilsley.
Oh, Brian Tilsley.
Who wouldn't fancy that hunker
Krypton
chunker?
Factor Brian Tilsley.
Yeah, with those
the street.
lovely golden locks.
It's
and
a mane.
His muscles bursting out of his t-shirt.
She starts stalking him, following him, calling... Ooh, that was my stomach. I'm really hungry.
Ooh, Brian.
It makes my loins rumble.
I'd eat him for breakfast.
She starts calling his home, and he's like enjoying the attention. He's such a pervert. Doesn't put her off, but he's like, no, I will remain faithful to my lovely wife, Gail.
For now.
Yeah, she babysits Nick, their child. So that's current Nick Tilsley.
I need to see this. I know Nick's away at the moment, but I need to have, whenever he comes back to the street, I need Sharon to say,
that's really interesting. I wonder if she's
you on
going to like be concerned about this poor boy that she used to know.
Maybe.
Will she acknowledge that she used to be his babysitter, or have the...
Well, she's already done a few name drops, hasn't she?
So she gives Brian a keyring of a birthday present, and he says that's enough now.
Too far, Sharon.
Back off. I don't want this tacky keyring of you flying a plane over Blackpool.
I've been to Blue John Mines.
And all I got was this lousy keyring. Gail witnesses a struggle between them and thinks Sharon's got a silly teenage crush. So that sounds quite dramatic, and really, a grown man shouldn't really be beating up a teenage girl for fancying her.
I don't think he was beating her up, but...
Well, what are they
fighting about? He was just trying
about?
to say, sod off, I'm not interested in you, child.
It's like she's a little dog trying to hump his leg. He's like, get off.
She was.
I need a
Totally
squirt bottle. Gail, get me a newspaper, a rolled up newspaper. Rita confronts Sharon about this, and she's like, oh, Brian and I are in love. He came on to me. And Rita's like, oh, God, this is horrific. Sharon calls her hypocrite after being Barry Hates. Harry Bates, common law.
Neither of us can speak this evening.
Harry Bates, common law, wife for so long. And so Rita slaps her.
Yeah, so I think a lot of people don't know that when Rita first came into the show, she had a bit of a retconny past, didn't she? Because she came in as the wife of somebody called Harry Bates, and then they went off for a bit, and then Barbara Knox came back and was like, well, shall I just play the character that I played a few years ago? But hang on a minute, this person isn't married or something, and then it made out that she was actually just common law married to him, i.e. not at all. And it all got a bit confusing and murky, but that doesn't stop Sharon calling her out on it.
Yeah. Brian tells Sharon... Yeah, Rita slaps her because she didn't want to... She's like, don't confuse me about what happened in the past. Brian has to tell Sharon to her face he's not interested in her, and she's absolutely heartbroken.
Oh, poor Sharon.
Then the social services find her a job in Sheffield. The Faircloths try to keep her in Weatherfield by offering her an apprenticeship, but she says, I'll never get over Brian. She takes a job and she goes to Sheffield.
Yeah, that's it, isn't it, for Sharon in 1982? But she comes back briefly at the end of 1983, and we saw this, didn't we? Lem Fairclough's death.
Which was caused by Peter Adamson.
Deciding that...
setting fire to his career.
Yeah, basically. But it did bring up the opportunity for Barbara Knox to do some belting acting. She was very good. She was fantastic when
it was really
Len
dramatic
died.
because this was
really
the
grief
anniversary party.
Yeah, it was their Ruby anniversary party.
And Len was driving to come home, and he just crashed his car
from
and
his
died.
missus. From his mistress, to his missus.
Yeah,
Rita was fantastic. The grief that woman portrayed. Mwah. Yeah, so Sharon came and visited, and while she was there doing her sympathetic ear bit, she attracted the attention of Curly Watts, who he arrived on the show in 1983, so he'd only been around for 6 months or so. Besotted was old Curly. He even wrote a poem about her. So
Is it better than
bit better than Seb's
Seb
perm than
than
Alina,
Alina?
probably, because Curly was
Nina.
educated in that. She was a little bit embarrassed by this, but she said, "Oh, fine, I'll go out on a date with you anyway." And as I said earlier, they barely got, half an hour into this date when she ditched him to go to a UB40 concert with Terry Duckworth.
Are they the ones that did Red Red Wine?
They are.
Oh, classic.
They did a number
Tune.
of reggae tunes. I'm sure that Ed Bailey would have done exactly the same. She is still able to convince poor Curly to carry her bags to the station the next day when she was returning to Sheffield.
Well,
though.
I mean, Curly designated himself as a doormat right from the beginning.
He did quite a bit, yeah. So that was the very beginning of 1984, because this dating thing was like over a New Year, 83, 84, I think. And that was all we saw of Sharon until 1999. And doing a little bit of maths in my head, that works out to be 15 years gap. And this is when I was watching it properly. So
you know a lot about this. This is all stuff that you...
I've seen all of this, but the late 90s, early 2000s are considerably murkier in my head than many of the other years that we've watched more recently on Coronation Street. So I did enjoy this. But yeah, when I was reading about it the other day to do a bit of research for this character profile, I was like going, oh yeah, I kind of remember that, don't remember that. But apparently... she must have been in it loads, because she was the 13th most seen character in 1999. So when the producer brought her back, they obviously had, great expectations for Sharon Gaskell. Did we say that she was called Sharon Gaskell, or have we calling her Sharon Bentley all this time? I don't know.
She marries this guy.
She marries Ian later, and that's a spoiler because there's a rocky road to marriage. But yeah, she's 13th most seen character in 1999, joint with the lovely Toya. I know.
Oh, so Toya.
So, her thing was that she came back in early 1999 because she was engaged to this chap called Ian Bentley. He was a sales rep, and she wanted Rita. She wanted to make amends with Rita. It was sort of going down, sounding fairly similar so far. She wanted to. She'd lost touch with her, and she said, "Rita, come to my wedding." And Rita's like, "No, tell your wedding to come here." And so she manages to persuade Sharon and Ian to get married in Weatherfield rather than Sheffield, which is
I thought you said it's Nottingham.
Nottingham, sorry. What a diva-ish move.
Where's she having her wedding? Nottingham or Weatherfield?
I've written Nottingham here, but it might be Weatherfield.
Did you just make that up completely out of nowhere?
Rita persuaded Sharon to move her wedding
from wherever
nearby.
It was.
I think it was Nottingham to Weatherfield.
All right, okay.
Doesn't matter. I'm just saying
under the bridge now,
Rita is a
Michael.
big old diva. And so she made friends with Sally when she was, and throughout 1999, mostly, Sharon and Sally were really, really close. So that's going to be quite interesting to see what happens there.
If anything.
You'd have thought that she might have, picked up on the fact that she was mayor of Weatherfield at some point and, in the news for various things. But, oh well, she chose now to come back
if
for
it's
whatever
not on
reason.
Facebook, I don't know.
Do you think that Sally wasn't writing all over Facebook that she was mayor of Weatherfield? So Ian, she's probably still got a mayor picture, hasn't she, with her chain?
Love it.
So Ian, the scumbag, started an affair with Natalie Barnes, the Trollop. The I'm not going to use any more derogatory terms to women. She was an utter strumpet, was Natalie Barnes. Fresh from the death of her husband Des, barely a few months earlier, maybe, on the rebound with grief or whatever, I don't know. She steals Ian away from lovely Sharon. Sharon finds out about it, and rather than just saying, right, mate,
I don't like
dumped,
you anymore,
she thought, well, maybe this is just one last,
let's get him back
with another woman. I'm gonna marry him anyway. But when they got to the service, and this was a great wedding service, she was there at the front of the church looking lovely in her wedding dress, and she just kind of starts bubbling with rage and calling Ian a liar and bashes him with her bouquet and storms out of the church. It was fantastic, that scene was. Love a good Corrie jilting.
If you've ever wondered, if you're a man and you've ever gone through getting married and you wondered why your wife-to-be is not really interested in taking you to the florist to pick the flowers out, it's because while we're there, we have a little discussion with them about whether we want to use our bouquet as possibly a weapon. And there is an upgrade you can do to get a billy club put right down the middle of it.
She must have had that. She must have done, because Ian bogged off for a considerable amount of time after this, but that wasn't the last we saw of him. Oh no. Now Rita gave Sharon the cabin for her birthday that year. And it was her 34th birthday. And when I read this, I was like, was she 34 when she was in it? Blimey. Because when you're young, like anybody that's over the age of 20 is just automatically an older character, I think.
Well, yeah.
And now it's like, gosh, she was a few years younger than I am now.
Much of a concept of how old people are. There's 3 categories. There's older than me, same age as me, and younger than me.
Yeah. So Sharon was 34 getting a cabin gifted to her by old Rita because she was a bit lonely and she wanted to stay around and keep her company.
I'm lonely.
Mavis has gone for 2 years at this point. I know, no. So Sharon's like, yes, please.
Of course.
Now, Ravi Desai, who was the owner of the corner shop at that time, for a very brief period, I have to say, warned Rita that Sharon may well sell up and move on, so she maybe needs to be a little bit more prudent with who she's just giving cabins to willy-nilly. So Rita's like, you know what, Ravi, you're probably right. Sharon, let's just have maybe a 50-50 partnership here. Maybe a little trial run. And Sharon's like, no, you said I could have the cabin,
it's my 34th
actually.
birthday.
The most special of birthdays.
That's a very significant number.
Yeah. I'll keep that, actually. Thank you very much.
Yeah.
So she is now the owner of the cabin, which doesn't go down too well with Leanne, who's been working there for a few years, and it basically gets her back put right up by having this new boss swan in and order her around. So Leanne's like, I'm not working here anymore, I quit, I'm going to go for a job at the Rovers. So that was the end of Leanne in the cabin. Sharon later that year started dating Danny Hargreaves, who was like a local trader, and a brief period in the late 90s, early 2000s, Danny and Sally had a hardware shop in the place where Prima Donna is now, DNS Hardware it was called. But yeah, so she starts dating him, but he's got eyes for Sally at this point, so he's not that into it. She also meets up with Terry Duckworth, who got a name drop on Wednesday's episode, didn't she? And this is the first time in 15 years that she'd seen him, because they'd obviously had this little date at the UB40 concert in 1983, 1984.
Unforgettable.
Yeah. And so she's like, right, Terry, let's go for a drink. The idea is that this is going to get Danny jealous. But then she ends up like properly liking Terry, so she hangs about with him for a bit. Vera, who, you know, throughout her history goes through various stages of thinking Terry can do no wrong to realising actually he is a bit of a bad
worst people.
She's like, you need to be careful, Sharon. I know he's my son and everything, but he could be after your money. So Sharon says, okay, if your mum's telling me this, and I do like my money and
I love it.
and property, but I'm going to back off here. Terry's absolutely furious by this.
Yep.
So Sharon starts pursuing Danny again, but then when
nice to have options.
I know. When she realises that he's interested in her mate Sally, she backs off.
He breaks it off.
He backs it off, sorry, yes.
He breaks it off because he's like, I fancy Sally.
That's exactly what happened. I'm not even reading my own notes.
And Sharon and Sally have an argument.
They do. They have a breakup. She says...
Who's she?
Sharon says to Sally that she hopes that her and Danny rot in hell. Rude.
I don't understand this rot in hell idea, because you don't get to hell unless you're dead.
Yeah.
So why are you going to rot there? You rot in the ground and then you go to hell.
Is that how it happens, is it?
Yeah, I've got it on good authority.
Our theologian here.
I'd say you got that completely in the wrong order.
Gemma's got a half GCSE in RE.
It's A-star, thank you very much.
So Sharon, bless her, gets a little bit depressed by this. Leaves a nasty message on Ian's answer phone. Remember Ian, who she jilted 6 months or so earlier? Yeah. Then she tries to take an overdose. She doesn't really do very well at that, though, thank goodness. Comes around the next day and is like, this is Sharon at her lowest ebb.
Task failed successfully.
Yes. Ian wings his way up to Weatherfield, or down to Weatherfield, where he's come from, and is like, bloody hell, Sharon seemed a bit...
off?
Yeah, on the phone last night. Is she all right? So he finds out that she's okay, and it basically gets back with Sharon again. Sharon apologises with Sally, so things are all cool.
Sorry,
there.
Sally, I got it completely wrong. You rot and then you go to hell.
Yeah.
And Sally's like, I thought when you said it.
You don't need to do it yet. You don't need to do it
Just
yet.
Wait.
And if that Sophie of yours becomes a lesbian Christian, then maybe she might save you from that. It might get you into heaven. Yeah. So Rita doesn't like the idea of Sharon getting back with Ian, and I'm not surprised really. I mean, she is kind of a mother figure to her, and she's seen that this bloke is a bit, bit free with his willy.
Free Willy? What's that film?
And
never saw that
so
film.
she's like, back off, Sharon, but Sharon doesn't.
No,
in
Sharon
fact,
doesn't
she
care
she
what-
buckles down on everything and just
Doubles down, yeah.
doubles down on sticking with Ian and doing whatever Ian says. But there's a bit in bonfire night that year, or around bonfire night, where Ian's like, "Why don't we stop fireworks in the cabin? This is your shop." And the reason for that is, do you remember that fireworks accident that we saw in the classic episodes where there was when this kid got their face burnt off or something like that,
and
marked
Cam was
someone
like,
or other.
this can never happen again.
Yeah, and Rita, and since that time, Rita hasn't sold fireworks in the cabin, but
I'd
Sharon's like,
say-
"That's my shop. Also sell fireworks if I like."
I'd say I own a paper shop. I own a paper shop.
Yeah,
I feel like stocking fireworks is a bit of
annual tradition.
tempting fate here.
Why? Because it's made of paper.
Yeah.
Yeah. Whole place to go up in flames. So she decides, Sharon, in the end, that she's going to marry Ian. All of this was without telling Rita, of course.
Yeah, don't tell Rita.
Not only that, but she sells the cabin.
Yeah,
but she wants to sell the cabin so that she can buy a house in Bolton together.
Very reasonably
Bolt
priced
hole in
Bolton.
Bolton to get away from Rita. Rita's like, "What the hell? I gave you this as a present, lady. You don't go selling it off." So Rita then has to buy the cabin from Sharon for £45,000
Hey, can I just
after
say,
just giving it to her at the
Rita's-
beginning of the year.
Rita's money supply is inexhaustible.
Yeah, fortunately,
She's
Rita has a never-ending
always
supply of
got
cash.
money, always.
It's that Ted Sullivan, I tell you. It was his sweet shop money.
Bloody hell.
Anyway.
Can you imagine having enough money to like give away your place of work and still have enough money to buy it back?
I know.
Then go, oh well.
She's been saving. She's a bit old as Rita, hasn't she?
I'll tell you what she hasn't been saving on, earrings and cardigans.
No, I don't know where she's saved it. So Sharon and Ian leave Weatherfield, not before Ian has called Rita a selfish old woman.
It's a bit rich, really.
I know, but Sharon tries to offer a civil word before she leaves. She's like, "Rita, I'm always going to see you as me mum." But Rita's like, "I'm not
Bog
giving
off.
you my blessing. Bog off to Bolton, lady. I never want to have anything to do with you again. By the way, you're not in my will."
No, because I've already given you something, and then you got 45 grand in was it 99?
Yeah.
God, I wonder what that's worth
Gemma's
now.
getting out her calculator.
That's probably
Gemma always loves a
80
good old
grand.
conversion
No,
through time.
I reckon it's 70 grand now.
Do you reckon?
Uh-huh.
Blimey, Rita. So that was the last we'd seen of Sharon up until just this week. And Tracy had decided to quit Corrie after just 9 months' return because she wanted to keep busy. And having a look at Tracy's IMDb page, she has certainly managed that. She's had a finger in many pies since then. And she knew that that keeping busy and keeping... always keeping working wasn't guaranteed in a soap because you have your times. Well, I will say, I'll give you Tracy's quote actually, rather than paraphrase. 79. There we go. That's pretty good conversion in your head there.
£79,751.72.
Can I have some, Rita? Tracy at the time said, "I know that these storylines have to be shared out. The producers know that I'm not the type of actress who'll stand in the cabin saying, 'Hiya, here's your papers.' They know I like a bit of meat. I love being in Coronation Street. It's a great place to work and the door is always open for me to return, which I am grateful for. Looking back, I've had a tough year. 2 one-hour specials, a wedding, a suicide." Attempted. Sharon's been in the cabin and had some shags to boot. I didn't expect all that. That's a lot of heavy stuff and I have loved it. But there's so many other things I want to do. I'm a jack of all trades. Yeah, so I mean, we've seen it with so many characters on Coronation Street. They're never off the show for a massive period of time and then we don't see them again. And Tracy wanted to always be doing something. There had been reports at the time that she had rowed with other cast members, that she locked herself in her dressing room and that she was axed, but she and Granada strenuously denied this. Tracy, in fact, said the bosses did want her to say. So,
To stay.
Yeah. So I don't know where all of that came from particularly, but just in case anyone has heard that there was any bad blood between Tracy and the Coronation Street bosses, officially that is not the case.
Well, people always say, don't they, "Oh, there's no smoke without fire," but I don't know what they have to say about smoke.
I have got no idea.
About smoke machines.
Well, very true.
Because they're
Very
not on
true.
fire, are they?
No, they're not. They're not. So Tracy has done loads and loads and loads of TV and theatre and film since then. Well, all through her career, and not only that, but she's also won a few gongs to go along with it as well, including the prestigious Laurence Olivier Award, don't you know, for the best supporting performance in a musical in 1994's "She Loves Me" at the Savoy Theatre. She also got the same award in 2008 for a supporting role in Hairspray. Which I haven't seen, but I've heard very good things about.
You were in a diner when they were playing it.
I wasn't paying attention.
No, you weren't.
But what I do know is I love a
was the
bit of
big
Les Mis. And in 2006, 2017, Tracy played Madame Thénardier, which is the innkeeper's wife. And I can only imagine how awesome she would have been in that
bet
role.
she
I
belted
would
that
have
out.
loved to have seen this. She's got a good set of pipes in her, does our Trace.
I hate people that can sing. I'm so jealous.
I know, it makes you sick,
It
doesn't
does.
it? It makes you sick.
Great hair, great eyes.
I want to
great
see.
singing voice.
I want to
great
see.
acting.
I want to see Sue Devaney, I cannot remember how to say
dear.
that now, and Tracy Brabin do some kind of duetting together because they have both
Tracy
got.
Brabin,
Not Tracy Brabin, that's somebody different.
different person.
Tracy Bennett, sorry, she can join in as well. Why not make it a
She's
trio?
an MP, she wants to.
She can sing her mayoral campaign slogans if she wants to. Sorry, my watch. She can't do that. Anyway, what else has she won an award for? End of the Rainbow. She was nominated and won some awards from that. That was something where she
was
played
Judy Garland.
Garland. She's worked on Broadway. In fact, she was working on Broadway just up until last year when COVID hit, before she winged it back over here. She was TV works included like regular role in Scott and Bailey Series 3. And the last thing, as far as I can tell, that she did on telly was playing Margaret Foley in the 2019 ITV series The Bay. But Gemma and I don't really watch a wide variety of UK TV, as we've said many times before, so we have seen none of this. We just have to use our imagination.
Or musicals.
No,
I've seen a lot more
We like some musicals.
live things than you have.
Yes, but
You don't want to pay money for stuff.
no,
And
I
I
don't.
don't mind supporting our local theatre.
Well, it's very nice that all the theatres are going back again, but I hope that I don't know how long Sharon is going to currently remain on the street for. I hope it's for a while, but maybe the lure of the theatres reopening will tempt her back to onto the boards. I've got a few more quotes. Do you want to do some quotes? These are. I've got some retro quotes here from Tracy.
Well, I'll do what she said.
And some new quotes.
When she came back in 1999, she says, obviously she's a bit older now, but what I'm trying to do is link it with the bit of edge that she had. It's hard for me because I don't know what the writers are going to do with her now, but if I don't have that gobby side, it could be any character, and I may well not be Sharon.
Gobby is the right word to describe her.
She likes playing Sharon because she likes the chutzpah.
Yeah, you could tell just from her being back this week that she has got a mouth on her and is not afraid of speaking her opinions, even if they
She kind of reminds
clash
me
with someone else's.
a bit. I don't know. Sounds a bit weird. Like Tinkerbelly, like this kind of tiny little, cute-looking, sweet, big-eyed thing, and then you
With a
like
scowl.
yeah, and then you kind of have to just put her in, like, cup your hands around her to be quiet.
Well, this is why I was so excited when I heard that she was coming back to see what to hear that she'd be in scenes with Jenny, because both of them have got quite
Sparky,
fiery personalities, haven't they? And if they're going to clash about something, there will be fireworks.
mercurial.
There'll be fireworks that will rival even those that stopped Rita selling them.
Even those, that blew up that small child. Brilliant. After leaving in 1999, she said, "This is the most erratic part I've ever played."
Not erotic part I've ever played. Few shags to boot, she said.
One instant, Sharon is angry, then she's sad, then she's crying, then lashing out. In one scene, she's irrational, paranoid, and neurotic. Not erotic, Michael. She's been drinking, she's tired, she feels betrayed. Had to go through all those emotions, and that meant I had to do my homework.
Very good rage. Oh, I'm so excited to see more. And then, just finally, on her 2020 run return, the quote went, "I'm absolutely thrilled to be returning to the cobbles. 'Tis a dream come true for me. I had such an amazing time there, and I'm looking forward to working with Barbara again," Barbara Knox, of course, "and getting my teeth into the storylines that they have planned for Sharon. I was first approached coming back about 18 months ago, and I was keen and excited to see what was in store, but my work schedule and then the pandemic has meant that it's taken until now for it all to come together." That's a long time that Sharon's return has been in the running.
I tell you
hasn't
what, it's kind of heartening to hear that they put it on ice for that length of time. It makes me feel like they got something juicy. You know, instead of going, I'll forget it then. They were like, no, we really want you to come back, so we're going to wait until the right time.
They must do. This is fantastic. Very, very happy. Love a bit of Sharon. And I hope that if you have not seen Sharon before or not read about Sharon, or maybe you have and you didn't know all of those minuscule details that we just that we mentioned there, that you have learned something through this podcast and
crash
not
course
wasted your time.
In Sharon Gaskill, now Bentley, just as Tracy Bennett would like, with a stunt woman aspirations.
Yes, exactly. Nice link. Well done. I mean, I was toying with the idea of whether we wanted to do this now or leave it until later, until, you know, her inevitable departure, whenever that may be.
This is fun.
But I think it's useful to catch people up to who she is, and, you know, maybe we'll update it for our YouTube when the time comes for her to say goodbye for
How
for
do
a
you know
third
she's
time.
not just going to stay in Corrie now?
She might be alive. Well, you know what? She said, hasn't she? She said, I like to keep busy. I like to try different things. I like to, you know, I don't like to stay in the same place for too long. I don't know. Who knows?
I think a lot of
Who
actors
knows?
like that, but not many of them can pull it off. So kudos to her for being able to keep herself so busy.
Yeah,
That's a very difficult thing to do if you're an actor.
Yeah, and acting jobs aren't particularly easy to come by at the moment either, are they?
No.
So who knows? Anyway, that's our character profile of Sharon. I hope you enjoyed that as much as I clearly enjoyed saying it.
You loved it.
And that's it, really. So
let's move
thank
on.
you for listening. We're not moving on to anything. We're moving on to dinner
let's
now.
Just move on.
Thank you, everybody.
turning this off.
Goodbye. Thank you for listening.